Welcome to the podcast with your favorite cash flow guys, Mike and Blaine. Giving you the best advice while having a beer. When you're running a business, there are problems every day. Let Mike and Blaine help you out and guide your way. Cheers to the good times with Mike and Blaine for business, beer, and BS.
Oh my God. I saw you singing that time. I saw your lips moving. That's the first episode, and it took 121 episodes to do it. This is Mike and Blaine, episode 121. This is the one Blaine actually sung the jingle. I'm Mike Blaine, Cashflow Mike. That's Blaine Birch. You are listening to Mike and Blaine. What's up, man?
I've sang it before. You just don't notice. You're off in your own world, looking over here, looking over there while I'm singing the jingle, doing the goods, you know.
Yeah, you know, one of the comments you made right before we went live was, sometimes we just have to entertain ourselves.
That's exactly. That's what it's all about, man. It's all about.
That's exactly what it's about, especially the holiday season. I mean, we're coming up on the new year. This topic is so relevant. It's so now. It's so every year, right? It's so pervasive. Yeah. I'm really excited about the topic where we're talking about crystal balls or curveballs, but we're talking about the future. That's what we're talking about. So no better person to talk about the future than the CEO of Dry Run, Blaine Birch. Tell us about Dry Run.
Yeah. So Dry Run is going to help you forecast your financials. Most importantly, your cash flow, most importantly, your sales pipeline, see exactly where you're going in the business, model some scenarios, make some smart decisions. So yeah, perfect opportunity to get kicking off with Dry Run so you're ready for 2024.
Yeah, so I'm Mike Blaine, known as Cashflow Mike, at our business at Cashflow Mike. I'm telling you what, I just got off a call with 30 accountants, bookkeepers, advisors, all of them looking to help small business owners put more money in their pocket. They're looking for ways to do it. This advisory services program focused on cash flow, which I call Pathfinder, which is a certification program to do it. They are all eating it up. It is going to transform the world because I'm on a mission at Cashflow Mike to eliminate cash flow as the reason that businesses fail. So that's where you and I have a comment right there.
Absolutely. That's how we got hooked up, and we are going to be loving small business and trying to help them forever. That's just what we do. Love small business.
So I'm kind of noticing. So I changed my setup, right? So I used to have the microphone sitting down low. Now it's up high, but I feel like if I lean in, I got the microphone in front of my face. What do you think?
I think if you do that, I also only see half your head. So
how about now? Can you hear me still? I don't know.
I can hear you okay. You stay up there. I can hear you okay.
Still better? Still better. If I go like, hi, I'm Mike.
Well, then you sound like you're on the radio, so that's all right.
All right. So, but yeah, so maybe this thing needs to go on this other side of the microphone so you don't see it or it doesn't hit me in the face every time I lean forward. So,
yeah, probably
anyway,
a good plan.
Hey, we jumped right into BS, apparently. I mean, if you've never heard this show, there's three things we talk about: business, beer, and BS. And you're getting a lot of the BS right now. But let's talk about beer.
Absolutely. Yeah. So in honor of, and that was a little bit of a stretch this week again, but in honor of this topic, I decided that what is that crystal ball supposed to do? And what are you doing when you're trying to deal with that curveball is you're looking for a cheat code.
Ooh.
And so this is a cheat code, double IPA from Cerebral Brewing, which is in Denver, Colorado. And I don't know if I've actually had any beer from this brewery before. This is a really good beer. Double IPA, New England style. It is delicious. So good on them. That's a nice beer.
Yeah, right on. Hey, they're just giving her over there, right?
Just giving her. And I'm going to mention a couple of our beer sponsors and then hand it over to you. So I'm going to mention Neighbour Pat, even though I know he's feeding you because you always like to talk about Rachel, and Larry Weinstein, who I haven't seen in a while. Larry, we gotta connect again soon. Larry Weinstein, CPA out of Houston. Go to Larry when you need some help with your books and everything else. Thank you guys. Really appreciate it.
I don't know. Hey, you mentioned Rachel. Rachel Barnett is Gentle Frog, right? She has built a program on teaching you how to use QuickBooks. If you don't know anything about QuickBooks, if you're just starting out, it maybe you're not just starting out, but you're like going, I need to know more. I feel like there's so much more involved with this program that I need to know more. Contact Rachel Barnett over at Gentle Frog, because she has a program that will take you from 0 to 60. I'm talking about know nothing to know a lot in a very short amount of time, almost like a Tesla or actually a Corvette or Ferrari or you name it. That's what she can do. Gentle Frog, contact her. She's one of our beer sponsors. And guess what? You can be a beer sponsor too. All you have to do is go to mikeandblaine.com and click on Buy Us a Beer. It is going to be the cheapest but most valuable sponsorship you've ever made in your life. It's $5 a week. We talk about you. We talk about your business for $5. That's it. I mean, it sounds too cheap, like too good to be true. Guess what it is? Because our downloads are increasing at an incredible rate. Blaine came up with this new short idea. Come on, tell us about the shorts. What's happening with those?
Okay, yeah, not my idea whatsoever. I'm actually way behind the game. I found out about them. I found out how important they are. And so we started running shorts, and we're getting tons of views because we're on a bunch of different platforms. We're getting tons and tons of views, and that's generating more downloads and generating more views. So it's just awesome. So thank you guys for supporting us. And yeah, and we want to, here's Mike's and my goal for next year, 2024, is to go through the entire 52 weeks with beer sponsors the entire time. And I think we can, because I don't remember, we probably got enough beer sponsorship to have gone through the past year. So I think we can keep it going. That's our goal.
We're already at 64. I think this is 65 or 66. We'll have to go back to the last episode and count. But 66 weeks in a row with somebody sponsoring us with a beer.
Yeah, sweet.
That's an incredible streak.
Yeah. And it's the most, we're also looking for a title sponsor for the episode, but I got to tell you, the beer sponsors, we appreciate so much, because we really like to have a beer while we have the episode. And I suppose we'd probably crack one anyway, but we still really appreciate the support.
Hey, speaking of somebody that has supported me with, I'm going to say gallons of beer at this point, right? Not just a beer here and there. He is so good at his craft, which means crafting beer, that not only does he have his own growlers, he makes his own label. So if you know Neighbor Pat, right now I am going to have his gingerbread.
Gingerbread, nice.
Think about the care. Think about the love that he puts into each growler to bring this to the show. So Neighbor Pat, you are my favorite sponsor by far and by value.
That is amazing. That's terrific.
He is sponsored by value. Instead of APV, I've got SPV over here.
I got to tell you, the very first time I had a homemade beer, which you could say is like super small, like craft beer. This was back before craft beer was really a thing, because I was in university. I was at a party somewhere, and a guy came in, and from Italy, because we'd met these guys through, of course, our university. And he brought in, it was those Tupperware tubes, like the juice box tubes, like the big round one. I'm sure every mom had one. And his beer, he poured me it, and it looked kind of like a mix between chocolate milk and kind of pea soup. And it was beer.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. I don't know what he did. We drank it. We drank it, but it did not look like beer at all. Like it was not.
You should have canned it. That's why they can those beers, so you don't see them.
It was a beer you had to chew. I know people say that about Guinness. I'm like, no, it just looks dark. It's actually a light beer. But this one was thick, absolutely thick, and must be unfiltered. I don't know. He said it was beer. Maybe it was something else. I'm not too sure, but it was cheers to that guy. I can't remember his name anymore. That was a long time ago.
All right, so it must be the Christmas season, because I am inundated with gingerbread. I'm getting gingerbread beer.
Ooh.
Courtney made a massive mound of gingerbread cookies, which I don't know if you've done this during the holidays, but take that gingerbread cookie and dip it in your coffee in the morning. Ooh. Oh, it's heaven. And she makes them a little thick, so they're not hard and crunchy, but they're a little soft too. And it's a perfect mix of a gingerbread cookie. So,
nice.
man, I'll tell you what. So I guess I I hope I don't turn into a gingerbread man, but you never know, I guess.
I'm pretty sure actually earlier this afternoon I saw that Heather was actually making some ginger cookies too, so I'm quite excited about them because they're really good. It's hard to eat just one, or two or three, to be honest.
All right, so we're super close to having a title sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
I just got an email from them saying, "Hey, we're this close on a monetary arrangement." And they've already sent out samples of their product, right? They mailed them to you, they mailed them to me. So we're going to have it in our hands. So if you hear us talking about a new sponsor and a new product, it's because we tried it, we liked it, and we support it. So that's coming up next. Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting. And I don't, I don't know if it'll be like, will we be starting maybe even next week, maybe before the end of the year, we'll sneak that in to get started, which will be pretty exciting. So.
Yeah, right on. So speaking of the end of the year, you know what happens at the end of every year? People make predictions. They're like going, what is going to be the trend in 2024, right? So here I am, we pick I just came out of the garage. I mean, neighbor Pat dropped off his beer. He goes, what's it going to be? What's your topic going to be today? And I'm like, going, I don't know. I ain't figured it out yet. And I walked in here and the first article I saw was, here are the hip trends for 2024. And I'm like going, those look like last year's trends.
They just changed the date on the article, the number.
AI, this, all these things that you're like going, wait a second, those aren't new. You're not really stretching. No. Let intern Chad write this. You had to have.
had to have. Yeah. I think it goes back almost a bit to the topic from last week too, but all of you out there, all of us are going to be inundated with these, like you said, the trends and kicking off the year right and doing all this. And it's going to get so annoying that we might miss out on the fact that it's actually really important, that it is really important to go into the year with a bit of a plan in place, with a bit of an idea of what's going to happen and where you're going to go. And I will tell you, over the last couple months, a repeated word I have heard from entrepreneurs and business owners that I've been talking with, I kid you not, is weird. They just say it has been a weird year, and they expect next year to also be weird. Where one guy I was talking with just a couple of weeks ago said he hasn't seen it like this in 15 years. He said it's just weird that like it's a weird drought, and then overwhelming coming in the door, and then this weird slowdown. Like it's just weird, and I'm hearing it all over the place. 24 is likely to be the same, so we got to be prepared for it.
You know what's funny is, all right, so I started Cashflow Mike in January of last year, so I'm coming up on 1 year anniversary this couple weeks. Mm. That's how my year was, but I just thought I was a startup. Sometimes they make money, sometimes they don't. But it didn't make sense. Some of the times when I didn't have sales, it didn't make sense. And I'm wondering, if there was a rhythm to that pattern, if there was something else behind whether or not people bought coaching or not.
I will say that talking with the entrepreneurs, I'm guessing there's probably at least a half a dozen that had this, that I talked with, that we got into a deeper conversation about the sort of volatility, strangeness, weirdness, whatever. And so I dug a little deeper because I'd already heard this. So I wanted to see, was there a pattern? Was it almost like a seasonality? No, they're weird trough and then a big high, and that didn't correspond to anything. It didn't relate to anybody else I was talking to. It was just unpredictable. And the thing is, it'll probably be that way in 24 because businesses are they're saving their pennies. They're really tight. They got this weird interest rate stuff and weird political stuff and weird this, weird that. And so everybody's a little bit unsure of what to do, but then they realize, well, I got to move. I got to do something. I think you have to prepare for some real volatility next year. And so you got to have some money in the bank. You got to keep your funds, your powder dry.
Yeah. What you said was pretty so poignant, meaning that oh my God, I got to do something. So I've even got clients that they can be so successful, everything going right, that when they hit that lull, that little down, they started tweaking. They said, oh my God, I got to change things because it isn't right. It didn't feel right. So it goes back to the being weird. But then the changes they made offset all the good stuff they did, and it created a bigger problem, right? Like going, rather than just say, wait a second, it's weird, but I don't know why. So what they were doing was going on gut, and sometimes in a case of one of my clients, falling back into an old habit, of tinkering with price or tinkering with, the way the marketing spend is. When you start doing that and you make it such a decision that's just, what's that thing that they call when you go through the checkout line? Impulse, right? It's just an impulse gut decision. You're just making, decisions that you don't know. You just feel that it's not right. Yeah. That's what you got to avoid going into the next year, knowing that it was weird and it's going to be weird again, or thinking that.
Yes. Yeah. And I think there's always a place where you trust your gut enough to test it. Like, in other words, test your gut. I think what happens is too easy to sort of trust your gut and just jump right off the high board, where it's like, okay, my gut's telling me this. How do I just run a little test here and see before I'm all in on something, right? To figure out, is it weirdness, is it volatility, or is this a new norm? I don't know. It's hard to know.
Yeah, well, you mentioned something. You said the word planning, right? So to me, I always think about that. I think, and I said this earlier, and I'm like going, is that true, or is that who it was? I think it's from Patton, General George Patton, right?
Yeah.
That somebody, and if I'm wrong, hey, put it in Facebook. Say, Mike, you don't know shit. Just put it in Facebook. Like, it wasn't him, it was this other person. Because I'd rather be called out and know it next time. So, but I think General Patton says that planning is everything, but the plan is nothing. Right. Mm-hmm. And here's how I applied it to my life, is that when I think about the future, I think about it in 3 layers at first, which is what's most likely going to happen, but what's the best case scenario, and then what's the worst case scenario, right? So it's kind of a 3-layer kind of prediction for the future. I think this is most likely. If something else happens, it could be better than I expected or worse than I expected, right?
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
Sorry.
I was going to say.
I was just.
Jinx, you owe me Coke. That's probably not how that works, but.
Go ahead. Sorry, there was the rhythm. I thought. Okay, misread that.
No, I had that awkward pause. Right? Remember, we had the awkward silence, and now we had an awkward pause. I think it's because my nose itched. But
we're all pro here, guys.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where I'm talking about. Well, I don't remember now. Go ahead.
I like the quote, but it's a little bit of it's like a little brain teaser puzzle quote, a little bit, right? The quote, as soon as you started to say that quote, the first thing that came to mind is Mike Tyson's favorite quote is, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. And I think that is they dovetail. Those quotes sort of dovetail with each other. And it's not the case of don't plan, but there's more to it than planning. Like you plan, you're ready, you're prepped, but as soon as you get punched in the face, you also have to have all of the training, all of the reflexes, everything else. Unless you're the opponent of Mike Tyson, then you're going to get punched in the face. You're probably not going to get up again. So let's hope that doesn't happen to people in 24.
Well, you just go night for a while.
Exactly. Yeah. Just take my paycheck. Yeah.
But that's exactly right. It's about the flexibility, because we can go into the next year thinking these are the trends and plan for taking advantage of any trends. But what we don't know is the curveball that happens. What we don't know is maybe we're right and it's better than we expect. So the flexibility in your plan is more important than the plan itself. So that's where I take that quote, is planning is everything. And I've got 3 different scenarios. I think this is going to happen, but if it's better, I can flex to a new plan, or I can flex to a worse plan if it's worse, right? It's the flexibility that's key, not the plan itself.
Yeah, exactly. And it's that's been core to my sort of philosophy for decades. And that's where dry run comes from. I'm just going to sneak right into that because it's all about modeling multiple scenarios. Like this is exactly what we do. It's the namesake of dry run, is so that you're planning, and you're planning your best case, your worst case, your likely case. And as new variables come in, you're modeling stuff out. So it's like a living document where you always are planning and always adjusting. So a plan should never be the single line of sight. And if it goes wrong, you're screwed. No, it's like, here's our most likely, but we're prepared if it goes, if we move faster than we thought, we're prepared if it moves slower than we thought. We're prepared and we're adapting on the fly and constantly adjusting those plans. So I just stuck that in because it just was such a great segue. I dove right into that.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Chad what he thinks is going to happen next year. I don't have any real-time data, Mike, but here's what I think is going to happen.
Okay.
That's exactly what Chad said, right? I don't know, but here's what I think is going to happen.
It always has an opinion. Will say, well, we can't say anything about this, but here it is. Like every time.
And the reason I went this way is because we're talking about, okay, these are what experts think, right? Experts think this is going to happen. And for whatever reason, we not only take our own experiences, but we use that as input, right?
Yeah.
I go, well, I don't miss something I'm not paying attention to. That's one of the cool things about being an entrepreneur is that you can have your eye on other things that are happening around you and see if there's a place where you can exploit your own potential, right? Whether it be dry run, whether it be cash flow, Mike, whether it be, there's a new trend in hamburgers, right? Like going, oh my God, people are putting, Fiddle hoppers on hamburgers. I mean, how come I'm not doing that? Right? So, and hey, all right. Can I explain Fiddle hopper? Because that seemed weird.
You lost me on that one. I thought you made that word up. I'm like, okay, well, that's a good example.
I didn't make it up. My grandfather made it up because when he couldn't remember the name of something, he goes, "Hey, hand me that Fiddle hopper over there." He would just use that was his filler word for anything he couldn't think of what he was trying to say. Hand me that thing, and then instead of hand me that thing, he said Fiddle hopper.
Let's just try and turn that into a thing. That'll be maybe a goal for 24. Is by the end of 24, we want people to be using Fiddle hopper as just like as a thing,
That would be the greatest tribute to my grandfather ever, right? It's just like, awesome. Hey, Fiddle hopper's a thing. Everybody's saying it. To me, it's like I even use it. You know how business schools, I teach at Trinity University. Business schools use widgets. What do you think I use?
Fiddle hopper. And you should. We will turn that into a word next year. It'll be our quest. I tried a couple of years ago to bring rad back, and I didn't get very far with it. But Fiddle hopper's got a little life to it. Let's see if we can get that going. Let's get people talking about it.
I hadn't heard it. It's like it hits your eardrum's different, but it's old school, right? My grandfather passed in the 1900s. So think about that, how old that word was. And I'm trying to rekindle it, right? I'm the only one carrying the torch, so I need your help over here.
You might have to buy fiddlehopper.com and you can just sell completely random widgets.
Whatever it is. Hey, we're going to sell whatever. I mean, you got a Luke Combs tumbler? I'll take that. We'll sell it.
That's how you get sued and turn into a real big issue. And that was a thing.
You are paying attention to the news. Look at you.
Oh, yeah. I caught that one. Yeah, that was ridiculousness.
I feel bad for him, right? I feel bad for because he just has a company just protecting his brand. But then this lady sold 18 of these tumblers that I don't think she created. I think she bought them in wholesale, right? Right?
Yeah, if you guys if you don't know what's going on, I'm just going to try and remember the article. So what happened, unbeknownst to Luke Combs, is a woman who's I think a fan of his had some tumblers made, and she was selling them online and sold like I said, like 18, made $380 or something like that. And someone on Luke's Comb went way over the top here and sued her. And the judge actually tried to, there's a judgment of 250 grand in penalties. And when Luke Combs found out about this, he said he was sick to his stomach. He made that go away. But I got to tell you, okay, because I'm going to talk about something here that I think is really relevant. And at some point it might be a topic for us. Look how easy it is for a brand to shoot themselves in the foot over doing something stupid. And you look at this lawyer, this legal firm that Combs used. If this was me, they would have been fired so fast because, first of all, they're doing something that I think is completely despicable and ridiculous. But look at the damage to his brand, and he's trying to stamp out fires over some overzealous legal person that I guarantee you, he charged Luke Combs a bunch of money for that to really hurt his brand and go after a lady that was, ridiculous.
So, but here's the small business problem. Apparently, she's from Illinois, right? And there you can be served electronically in email. It didn't even hit her inbox. It went to spam. She didn't even see it because she don't pay attention to spam.
Yeah.
So it went to spam, didn't see it. And then she gets the judgment because she doesn't respond, doesn't even go to court, doesn't even know what's going on.
Nothing.
All she knows is that later all her sales have to go to Luke Combs, and then she still owes $250,000. Like going, what? That's the
ridiculous
most thing I've seen.
Ridiculous on 50 levels, absolutely ridiculous on so many levels. And you can see how damaging it can be to a small business like that, damaging to Luke Combs brands. You know, the only ones that made anything out of this were the bloody legal team that made a mess of all of this and kept this poor lady up at night for how long? Absolutely ridiculous. Like it's really simple. Like, it's not like she should be using his intellectual property and trying to sell it. They could have sent a letter and said, yeah, can you please just not do that? You aren't allowed to. And that's all that needs to be done.
All right. So he hasn't gotten the judgment overturned, but what he's doing is he has asked his fans to go buy these tumblers, and he's going to give her all the money until all of her. And the thing is, she was going through medical problems at the same time. I mean, so she sold 18 cups, gets sued for $250,000. Plus, she has a congenitive heart failure, some type of heart disease that's racked up another $100,000 or plus in medical bills. It's like going, hey, if you're going to help somebody, help that girl, right? Help her. Right?
Exactly.
And tumbler, if that helps Luke Combs, buy the tumbler if he's going to give her the money, right?
Yeah, and the other thing is that legal firm should be ponying up. Look at the damage they did. Easy. Absolutely ridiculous. And you and I have both seen it. We've seen brands self-destruct by that shit,
But it's for a stat. The legal firm, they don't care if that woman can pay or not. They don't care. No. They're like, look, we earned $4 million in judgments from you. Well, 250 is from a person that will never pay. She's never going to be able to pay.
Exactly. And then the damage that he does to his brand, because you've seen it with airlines and things like that. He responded so well, he'll probably sail through it a bit, but a brand could get damaged, massively damaged, millions of dollars of damage over something where it's like a third party contractor does something so incredibly dumb. Or with companies, sometimes it's someone in the company that's not even responsible for not responsible for really anything of consequence, and can do something like you see in the airlines and things all the time, do something that is so damaging to the brand. It'll cost them millions upon millions of dollars. And most of the time it's because they're just being an asshole. It's not like, oh, I didn't mean to do that. It's no, you did mean to do it. You were being a complete asshole, and it's going to cost the company how many millions of dollars. And oh, by the way, they're probably protected by the union and can't do anything anyway. Like it's some insanity going on out there sometimes.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about a spokesman for a company that can do absolute value, that can provide value for their company currently right now at the midpoint of the show. It's our sponsor, Dry Run and our co-host, CEO, founder of Dry Run, Blaine Birch.
Well, thank you. I will take advantage of it, even though I did a segue and did my own little mini one earlier anyway. But I'm still going to take advantage of it. So
you're the mid-roll guy. Yeah.
I'm just going to build on top of that. Dry Run, like I said, our namesake, we're built on scenario modeling. Of course, you can do cash flow forecasting, sales forecasting, cash flow management, but our core philosophy is acid test all of your decisions before you take action. And it's an ongoing way to run your business where as new information comes in, you go in and you model it out in seconds and go, is this a good idea? How do we do this? How do we expand? Can we? When do we? All of these what if scenarios, come and visit us at Dry Run. We'll get you set up and we'll get you going. We can get your account set up in seconds. Well, that might take a couple minutes, and we'll show you exactly where you're going, and you'll have a really good idea of what's going on for 24, and then you'll get addicted to that information because it'll make you so much smarter. So come and see us at dryrun.com.
And I've got to tell you, I believe in it so much that I introduce Dry Run to all my clients, all of them, right?
Yes.
If we're doing forecasting, I'm not going, here's a tool, go check it out, go try it. You will not quit. You will stay in that product because you'll get addicted to it. Like you said, why? Because I think your cash flow is clunky. He thinks your cash flow is lumpy.
Clunky, lumpy, volatile. That sounds too wordy for me. So I like lumpy, but yeah.
Hey, guess what? Our beer sponsor likes lumpy over clumpy or clunky.
Thank you, Pat.
Larry Weinstein tells me.
Oh, was it Larry? Oh, thank you, Larry. Okay.
Larry, I mean, every time I talk to him, he goes, yeah, I know you think it's clunky, but I think it's lumpy. I like that word better. I'm like going, oh, you should be using Dry Run.
Yeah, thank you, Larry. You should be coming and talking with us. We'll help you guys out. So back to the crystal ball or the curveball. We've talked a little bit more about crystal ball, but what about the curveballs? How do you deal with, because the tricky part with the curveballs is it's the unknown unknowns. Right. It's not the known unknowns. It's not like, I don't know how much learn this year. That's a known unknown. It's the unknown unknown. It's the complete surprises that come and slap you in the face.
All right. So I actually like that part, right? That's, if I'm going to give a small plug to me, is that's where the financial doctor comes into place. Financial doctor is analysis, diagnosis, treatment, which is I'm looking at these warning signs. Believe it or not, your business is a collective unit. It's not individual silos. All things kind of happen together, and one thing may cause something else. Mm-hmm. So what I do is I look for these warning signs, which means people don't like, oh, you're looking at current ratios and quick ratios and things like that. Yeah, because when they're blinking like this, they're telling me something that if they're blinking, something else is going to happen next. So those are like warning signs on the dashboard of your company that says, this isn't right. You're going to have another problem. Yeah. So the curveballs are that financially. Financially, you see the curveballs, or you should be if you're doing any type of analysis. The ones that you can anticipate that are unknown unknowns are like going, oh, I didn't see that the government was going to put a restriction on this type of data. I can no longer send emails to Europe or whatever it is. It's something you didn't anticipate. That just means you got to think through the problem. What's the legal angle I can take?
Yeah, exactly.
So when you see it, the first thing, remember, I think I said this in one of the podcasts, what my favorite piece of advice was, and it was from my grandfather. It was control what you can control.
Yeah.
So whatever's happening around me, I can't control that. I can only react to it and respond to it, which means what is it that's happening and what is it that I can do that puts me in the best position for my company and my life and my personal life.
It is, how do you prepare for the fiddle hoppers?
Yeah, exactly right.
That's a great way to look at it, because you don't know. You don't even know what the fiddle hopper is, but you know you're going to have some fiddle hoppers in 24, right?
It's a fiddle hopper. Let's make it more. Let's make it.
Fadiddle hopper. I'm gonna have to write that one down. Fadiddle hopper.
I don't
Okay.
know how to spell it yet.
Yeah, I was trying to drop some support in there. Fadiddle hopper. I'm gonna have to write that down so I've got it for next week. Fadiddle hopper. But what we will say, I think both of us will say, these unknowns were going to hit you out of the blue, and I think what happens is business owners too often have a recency bias. It's a really, really dangerous cognitive bias. So what happens is, oh man, we are so busy right now, it's never going to end. You've all felt it. Oh my God, we're going to have to expand. We're going to have to, because you think it's going to keep going. But business is always a series of ups and downs that hopefully trends up and to the right, but it's never smooth because you're going to have these fadiddle hoppers. While you comment on that, I'm going to write that down so I remember. I don't even know how do you spell that? Fud.
Well, let's bring it down. It's fadiddle hopper. So I'm going to say FADIDDLEHOPPER, fadiddle hopper.
Fadiddle hopper. I have a dash in between fadiddle and hopper, but if it's one word, I'll remove the dash.
Hey, I'm going to ask Chad if maybe my grandpa stole it from somewhere. Let me ask Chad.
It turns out it's like the world's like dirtiest word or something. It's like, don't even say that. Grandpa.
Diddle hopper. What is a fadiddle hopper? It says, all right, hey, that's kind of a cool thing. Fadiddle hopper is not a standard or widely recognized term in the English language. It seems to be whimsical and playful combination of words, perhaps created for a creative, humorous purpose. That's kind of cool. All right, so hey, it's a made-up word, and my grandfather just made it up, I guess.
Yeah, it is a nice word. We are going to do, guys, we're going to have a t-shirt. We're going to go get a t-shirt, the Mike and Blaine Fadiddle Hopper t-shirt. We're going to have one.
Yeah. We need a Fadiddle Hopper t-shirt.
We need a Fadiddle Hopper t-shirt. Go to mikeandblaine.com. You can buy yourself a Fadiddle Hopper t-shirt. And while you're at it, just give her a t-shirt to go along with it.
There you go. So, all right. So I think what happens when you say the curveballs, that's where you have to be flexible. I think I've said this, people know my military background, but what makes a military commander so potent is not only the strategy they deploy, but the flexibility in the plan. Because again, they know that as soon as they start to execute whatever is happening in this military operation, if it starts to fail, they can change the plan. Why? Yeah. Because the consequences are dire. I'm not going to send everybody in to die at once. Yep. That's the same thing in your business. You don't want to do things that are going to kill your company. Mm-hmm. Flexible. Find the thing once you hit resistance that helps you get through or around.
Yeah, exactly. And I will point out that a curveball is hittable. Once you recognize it as a curveball, it's hittable.
Not me in junior college.
I will say a curveball is hittable in theory. but once you recognize a curveball, it's got a trend. It's just different than what you're expecting, right? It's not like, well, probably the worst one are the knuckleballs where they come in and you don't know what's happening there. But a curveball, you can hit it. You can hit it. You can see it. You can prepare for it, right?
Yeah. All right. So that's the curveball is what ruined my baseball career. I was an above average high school player, recruited by some colleges, played at the junior college level, was recruited by some 4-year schools. Were they D1? Might have been D1, but at the lower level of D1. Yeah. And near the end of my sophomore year at a junior college level, I was exposed to the curveball, not the high school curveball, the junior college curveball.
So you are Serrano from Major League, Remember the guy
Yeah.
can hit it a ton, but he can't hit a curveball. So it's like, hey, bartender, Joe Boo needs a refill. Like, remember
Yeah.
they got the jug of chicken because they wanted to sacrifice the chicken, so they got a jug of Kentucky Fried Chicken for him.
Yeah, but the thing is, I couldn't hit it a ton either. I was just a base hit type of guy. So I can't hit it a ton, and I can't hit the curveball. So, when I do connect, it's just going to be a base hit.
But you can steal bases.
Maybe then more than now, but now no.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
I could field and I could pitch. So I probably wouldn't have batted. If I would have made it to Major League, I probably wouldn't have batted because I was not great.
You'd be the opposite of a DH. I don't think there is the opposite of a DH, but
yeah, it's called a PH.
Pinch hitter.
No.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
No, not even that. Because those guys have to produce. Like, think about a pinch hitter. Think about
I guess they have to.
a guy that sits on the bench all game long and says, "Hey, we need the biggest hit of the game, and you've been sitting there doing nothing for 2.5 hours. Go do it."
Yeah.
That's
Speaking of which, what do you think of a $700 million contract to a guy that's injured? What do you think of that?
First of all, I think it's a repeat of what they did to Albert Pujols 15 years ago, 20 years ago. His was a 20-year contract, 10 of it playing, 10 of it administrative. You got to think about it that way.
Yep.
And it's injured. He was already injured, and he was already kind of near the end of his career as it is. But think about it. I mean, 10 years for anybody doing anything is ridiculous. I don't think in sports you can count on anybody past 3, maybe 2.
Yeah.
Maybe 2.
What if he comes back from injury and he can't pitch anymore? Because it could happen, right?
Well, yeah, but I think some of the stuff came out where it was really back end loaded with incentives and different clauses. So it isn't all guaranteed. There's a bunch of performance clauses in there.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're still going to get killed on that. And maybe it works out fine. Or maybe it is the worst contract. It's like the Rick DiPietro in, was it New York Rangers, had one of the biggest goalie contracts ever for 15 years or something like that. And then I think he played like 2 years or something. I don't remember anymore. It was a while back, but it's amazing how that big of a commitment often blows up in faces. So interesting, right?
I feel like there has to be, because this is what I like about baseball contracts or football or whatever, is that they're predicting the future. Who do I think you're going to be 10 years from now?
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
And so think about this. I mean, I think it has to come down some point in time. I don't think it can continue to climb. I mean, $700 million, that's almost $1 billion. And if that continues, that trend continues, now the next person is going to want $1.5 billion and then $1 billion. I mean, when will we be able to ever afford a baseball ticket? And so,
well, and the other thing too is that I think what like the league sometimes they don't understand is I don't have to afford a baseball ticket. It's not a requirement, right? And there's a value that's put on things now that you got to decide if it's worth your entertainment dollar. And like, cause I see it all the time, like the price for hockey tickets, football tickets. And I'm like, really? Do I really want to drop $500 to drive across town and stand in line and go to this, go to that, and da, da, da. And like Heather and I were at a concert about a week ago, and we really terrific little venue, a band we love, Canadian band called Big Wreck from late 90s, early 2000s, were the headliner. And we went in, we had a great dinner in this place. And then we went into this little, great little concert venue, and we stood up right at the stage and watched this amazing band play. And their tickets were under $30. And the entertainment value there was about 30x any hockey game I've been to in the last 10 years. Why? Like, in other words, you have choices, right?
Well, but live events creates lifelong fans. When I see you live,
Yeah.
it's different than seeing you on TV. And they're like on
Yeah.
all the values in TV advertisements. Not if I never really get hooked, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe I'm hooked because my dad liked it, but I'm not committed. I'm like, oh, I don't have to watch that show. I mean, there's 163 baseball games a year. I might watch the World Series. Now if and catch a Cardinals game or once in a while. I'm not the same as when I had season tickets for the Cardinals. I'm already that fan that they're losing, and if they lose me, they'll probably lose my kids. They'll definitely lose their grandkids.
Yeah.
So I don't see long term that this trend of high value contracts just getting higher and higher and higher and driving the average ticket price up from, what used to be maybe $10 up to $200. It used to cost me $200 a game, and I had season tickets. $200 a game just to go there to drink the beers, then the price of the tickets, and those type of things. $200.
Drink a $30 crappy beer. The value is it's not there. There's not a whole lot of sports that is there anymore. Like I was saying to Heather, like we'll spend some money to go to a car, like an F1 race. We would that's kind of on our radar, but you're there for an entire weekend, and there's it's stuff going on around it. It's not like, yes, 2.5 hours for like $500 and hope the team shows up, awful. I think there's so much competition in that entertainment space. I'm shocked that they keep pushing it, because at some point I think they're going to hit a wall and start dropping off. And then it's going to be damage control to try and how do you do it with all these long-term contracts, right?
Well, if you look at it from the other side, the athletes are saying, hey, we already know our careers are short. We have to make as much money as we can now. And then I'm going, when you tell me that, I'm like going, it's bullshit. Dude, I had a 7-year state trooper career. Then I went and did something else.
You went and did,
that's what you
the idea that they should, exactly, the idea that you should be able to sit in your ass afterwards because you only had a 10-year career, bullshit. That's number one. Number two is that may have been valid a little more in the 80s when you had guys that were making like $100,000 a year short career. You're making 5, 10, 70 million a year. Get lost. Don't even start with that. Now I know you're generating TV dollars, but even that space is awfully competitive. And I just don't know, I don't know. When do people start watching something else?
Right? I have a bum knee for the rest of my life. So does the dock worker that fell down or got into that's not a valid excuse to me anymore.
Exactly.
You leave one career. Yeah, you got paid well. I'm sorry your ego's hurt that you now have to go sell cars or you now have to go, stock grocery stores. Yeah. That's just life. You absorb into whatever's next. That's just life. Yeah. We're not here to set you up because I'm a fan. I don't need to pay for you the rest of my life. And it's not me personally. I know people are saying you're not paying for it. You're doing. I get it. Somebody is. Collectively, we are. Well, why are we doing it?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if if it can last the way it's lasting and somehow they keep going up, but I can't see it continuing to last like that. I agree with you that I think it'll start to settle down because even TV contracts, I don't think can keep that momentum up when there's so much competition.
The worst thing for professional sports right now is a guy like me saying, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Because in the past in my life, it was always worth it. It was always worth it to go to a game. It was always worth it to buy the memorabilia. I mean, I got signed jersey, got signed helmets. I got, it was always worth it. Now, not really worth it at the price.
It's the price, and I'll be honest with you, before we started coming down to Arizona all winter, you're going back 12, 13 years, 15 years. A lot of times in the winter, the neighbors, we'd all get together and watch the hockey game. And there were times that, one of the guys would walk in, hey boys, I got tickets for tonight's game. And you're sitting on the couch and you cracked a beer and you're like, yeah, there's zero chance. I have no interest in going out in the cold and going downtown. The TV's right there. but we could have been watching probably any sort of competitive anything. We could have been watching Iron Chef. It would probably be the same thing, right? Like,
Yeah, but here's the thing about that. They already had the ticket money because you already had the tickets.
yeah, yeah,
And then they're getting the TV money because you're going to watch the TV.
yeah. No, I get it, but like I said, at what, like, are they offering enough entertainment when it? Like, I remember a time when it was like not all the games for all the Oiler games were actually shown every year, and you'd sort of pick and choose and find the ones that you got to watch, and you only had 5 other channels or 13 other channels, and now you've got how many streaming platforms and gaming platforms and like everything under the sun and stuff out in the real world that competes for your entertainment, dime. And it's really hard for me to convince myself to drive across town to even watch a hockey game. Even if I was given tickets, I'm like, oh no, I want to go down there and drink their shitty beer for $15 and, sit in a crowded seat and have someone spill popcorn on me.
Yeah. All right. So give me a prediction. We're going to end the show like this. What's your prediction for 24? What's something that we would recognize it happening?
Oilers will win the Stanley Cup in 24. I'm just jumping on my. I'm staying on my thread.
Be realistic.
Screw you. Yeah, I'll be honest with you. That wasn't very realistic. Anyway, we've got quite a track record of not being realistic. I will say that and we had a nice little stretch of BS there for the holiday season coming up. But circling all the way back, I will say I think there's still going to be a lot of uncertainty, and what uncertainty does is it makes people pause. It makes people hunker down and keep their dollars close to their chest. And so we pretty much know it's not like inflation might slow down, but interest rates, they're not going to come down in any substantial way. They might come down like, oh, they came down a quarter point. Wahoo. They're still too incredibly high. There's still going to be issues where, are your suppliers, are they all healthy? Are they going to be around to deliver what you need? Like, there's so much uncertainty that you need to prepare for. I will say prepare for those unknowns. Prepare. What if your main suppliers turn out they don't make it this year? What if something happens and your market starts to dry up a little bit and slow down? What about the volatility? I know it's a hard thing to say because it just sounds like, how do you prepare for unknowns? Track them all the time, keep your head above water. And I would be very slow to part with money this year. Keep a bankroll, keep a war chest, because it could be a little bouncy this year.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Dad. Appreciate that. I was looking for something a little bit more simple. Like, here's what I think is going to happen, right? Because this is a prediction. This is not advice to you. This is what I think you can expect. I think AI will cool off and plateau. I think people will figure out that it's good for writing my email, for wordsmithing my thing, or finding a way to summarize information that I can't summarize. But I don't think it's as hot right now, and it won't be in 24 as people think.
Interesting.
That's a prediction.
That's a prediction.
I think
I will jump on that the other way. Is I think AI will multiply 10x in 24. But here's the interesting part: is I don't think people will recognize that it's happening. It's a little bit like the dot bomb, where it's like, well, the internet might be done as you start doing your banking online, and it was growing massively, and people didn't recognize it. And I think that might happen. Is I think AI will start being in so many things and be more integrated that you might not realize how much AI you're using, because I think it'll be kind of behind the scenes a lot more.
That could be, but I think people will. All right, I'm gonna go with that. I'm just gonna shut up.
I got one other huge prediction, that there will be on AliExpress before the end of the year you'll be able to buy a Fiddle Hopper.
I think on mikeandblaine.com, you'll be able to buy a Fiddle Hopper t-shirt the first week of January.
And also a mug so you can pour your hot, steamy cup of Fiddle Hopper over the holidays. So we will get that up there so you can grab that.
That's so funny. All right. Hey, this is episode 121. So I'm going to predict we're going to do 50 more in 2024.
Easy. Plus.
50 more.
Pick the over, boys. Pick the over. Unless we go to holidays in the summer, but pick the over.
This is the end of 121. You've been listening to Mike and Blaine. We talked about crystal balls and curveballs. So if you want to know more, go to mikeandblaine.com. You can see every single episode. You can go to your favorite podcast directory, subscribe, like, comment, those type of things. Let us know what we're doing right, especially what we're doing wrong, because I know you want to do that. And what else? What do you want to close the show with? Last word.
Pat, I want to find out if you beat Mike. You just text me. If you beat him in cornhole over the holidays, you text me and let me know. Yeah. We'll put it on Facebook.
Fair enough. All right, man. We'll talk to you next time.
All right. See you next week.
Check out their website at mikeandblaine.com. Then subscribe to the podcast and buy these guys a beer.